After 3 days of silence from my lawyer boyfriend, I drafted an apology text just to get him to the courthouse for our wedding. But the moment I hit send, his childhood sweetheart posted their marriage license online. After all this time, it's still you. Coworkers gossiped in the comments, waiting for my meltdown. I simply replied, invite me to the baby shower. I'll bring a generous gift. The post vanished. He called, voice sharp, Audrey needed legal help. It's just paperwork. Must you be so dramatic? Apologize publicly now, and I'll marry you after she recovers. He forgot this was his 67th cancellation. When he hung up, expecting me to beg during his usual breakup countdown, I didn't play along. My resignation was already submitted. After I ignored more than a dozen of his frantic calls, he finally sent a furious text, Jenna, have you lost your mind? How dare you hang up on me? You screwed up, and you think you have the right to be angry? You have 5 minutes to post an apology. Otherwise, we're done. In our 10 years together, I'd heard threats like this 100 times. And every single time, I was the one to cave, to apologize, to beg. This was the first time I'd ever just hung up on him. When I didn't immediately respond, Dylan started his signature social media countdown. He had a rule: 3 days of silent treatment meant we were broken up by default. My devotion had made him arrogant, and he wielded this rule like a weapon, using the public pressure of the countdown to break me every time we fought. For 10 years, it had worked perfectly. I would always crack just before the timer ran out. But this time was different. I was tired. I was done being his fool. Shortly after Dylan's post, his childhood sweetheart, Audrey, posted one of her own, making sure to tag me. It was just a little joke with Dylan, I didn't mean for it to go public. I had no idea Jenna would react so strongly. Now I'm almost afraid to talk to her in case I accidentally set her off again. Dylan, who rarely ever touched his social media, was the first to like it. That's her problem, Audrey. Don't blame yourself. And why set it to friends only? If you want to post something, post it for the world to see. It was obvious who her was. Our mutual friends, all dependent on Dylan for business, quickly chimed in with their support. Jenna is so petty. Audrey, don't let someone like that get you down. No wonder Dylan won't marry her. I wouldn't marry a woman that insecure either. I let out a bitter laugh. He would bend over backward to defend Audrey, to shield her from the slightest discomfort. But me, his girlfriend of 10 years? I was always met with cold indifference. Audrey could sneeze, and he would cancel our appointment at the courthouse. If I complained, he would get angrier than me, accusing me of being controlling and small-minded. And now, when I finally chose to let go and congratulate them, he was still the one blaming me, using his stupid countdown to force an apology. The truth was, there was no right or wrong here. The scales of love had tipped long ago. Ma'am, the man on this ID is already legally married. Would you like to reschedule with someone else? The clerk at the marriage license bureau looked at me with pity. I took the ID back with a small smile. That's an option to consider. The young couple behind me cheered as I stepped out of line. It was Valentine's Day, and appointments were impossible to get. I had been waiting here since dawn just to get a spot. But now, looking at the appointment form in my hand, I didn't hesitate. I tore it into pieces and threw it in the trash. I had filled out that form 67 times. I had given him 67 chances. Each time, I had shown up just like today, full of hope, watching other couples come and go as I waited for him. And each time, just before our appointment, he would call with an excuse about an urgent matter at the firm. When I questioned him, he'd throw his clients in my face. Jenna, a client's case is their entire life on the line. Are you really asking me to abandon them for a piece of paper? How can you be so selfish? He would say it with such righteous indignation, his voice dripping with condescension. He never knew that after he ditched me for Audrey, she would send me taunting messages. Dylan's cooking is amazing. I bet you've never had it, have you? I walked a little too far today, and Dylan was so worried he bought me a luxury car. I seem to recall you're still using a bike share, right? And now, he had gone so far as to get a marriage license with her. It was time for our relationship to end. For good. As soon as I walked out of the courthouse, I saw that my resignation request had been rejected. HR told me that Dylan hadn't been in the office for days and couldn't approve it. They gave me an address and told me to find him myself. Determined to leave properly, I gritted my teeth and went. The address was a pool hall. Audrey had posted earlier that she wanted to learn to play pool, and Dylan, the workaholic, had apparently been skipping work for days to teach her. When I found them, he was leaning over her, his body pressed against hers, guiding her shot. The moment Audrey saw me, a contemptuous smirk crossed her lips. A few of his office sycophants who were with them gathered around, nudging each other. Well, look who's here for Mr. Anderson. Told you. The 3-day countdown wouldn't even last one. She always comes crawling back. Our boss really has her whipped. One word and she's on her knees. All right, enough talk. Pay up, losers. I frowned. I'd heard these taunts countless times before, but they had never grated on me like this. I'm not here to make up. My words were met with a burst of laughter. Oh, stop pretending, Jenna. Everyone knows you're Dylan's ultimate lapdog. You couldn't be chased away with a stick. I ignored them and held out the resignation papers. Dylan, I need your signature. Just as he was about to look at the documents, Audrey whined, Dylan, honey, how do I hit this one? He immediately dropped the papers, pulled his personal seal from Audrey's pocket, and tossed it to me. Sign it yourself. And don't come bothering me here again. I'm teaching Audrey. Dylan was obsessed with his privacy. His safe was off limits to me. He would shield his phone screen even when just entering a passcode. And his personal seal? He never let it out of his sight. But now, he had just given it to Audrey. He was so preoccupied with her that he couldn't even be bothered with official company documents. I clutched the stamped resignation form, my heart feeling like a cavern with a cold wind blowing through it. I turned to leave, but Dylan called out to me, Audrey's busy for the next few days. You can handle her caseload for her. He tossed a thick stack of files at me, each one with nothing but a title written on the front. I'd lost count of how many times he'd asked me to do Audrey's work. All I knew was that every time I finished, she would take the credit. But if I made a single mistake in the rush, the blame would fall squarely on my shoulders. Sometimes, I'd lose my temper and refuse. He would then accuse me of being heartless, of not caring about him or the firm. He'd say if I didn't do it, he would, and I, feeling guilty about his workload, would always cave. But all my sacrifices had only earned me his entitlement and contempt. But now, I was no longer an employee. The firm's business was no longer my problem. No. I've resigned. Before I could finish, Audrey's whiny voice cut in. Dylan, it's okay. If Jenna doesn't want to do it, I can do it myself. Dylan immediately softened. You just went through a divorce. You're in no state to work. Go on, have fun. Don't worry about it. Then, his tone toward me turned to ice. Don't you understand? You've already upset Audrey enough with that social media stunt. Now I'm giving you a chance to make it up to her, and you're refusing? You keep this up, and in 3 days, you could be on your knees begging, and I still wouldn't take you back. I almost laughed. My mother had passed away unexpectedly, and I had been so grief-stricken I'd fainted multiple times. All Dylan had said was, when you're done crying, get back to the office on time. There's a lot of work to be done. But Audrey? She'd been divorced for 2 years, and she could still use it as an excuse to skip work. Then don't take me back. I don't care. I turned to leave. Dylan's face was a mask of shock. The coworkers were stunned into silence. Audrey, however, just chuckled. Jenna, if you don't want to do the work, just say so. There's no need to play these hard-to-get games. At her words, the tension in Dylan's face immediately eased, replaced by his usual confident smirk. His voice softened. "All right, Jenna, I know I've been neglecting you lately. Just be a good girl and finish Audrey's work, and in 3 days, I'll go with you to get the license, okay?" I scoffed. The same empty promises. But this time I wasn't buying. I didn't answer. I just walked away. The coworkers started their snide remarks again. "What's the point of pretending? Just watch, by tomorrow at the latest, she'll be back, begging." A wicked thought crossed my mind. I wanted to see them lose their bet. I smirked and looked back at them. "Fine. You just wait and see." With my resignation approved, I immediately joined my best friend's law firm. In the legal world, your reputation follows you, not the firm you work for. My friend was so thrilled to have a top-tier lawyer like me on her team that she practically bowed down in gratitude. She offered me 10 times the salary Dylan had been paying me and gave me a villa. I was finally able to move out of my dilapidated rental apartment. Many of my clients had been shocked to learn that a high-profile lawyer like me lived in such a rundown place. I always brushed it off, saying I was a minimalist and didn't care about material things. The truth was, I had willingly taken a junior-level salary so that Dylan's firm could grow. At first, he had been grateful. But over time, he came to see it as his due. Once, when the heating in my apartment broke in the middle of winter, I asked him for money to replace it. He called me extravagant, said I had changed, that I was only after his money. But for Audrey, he would buy a sprawling mansion without a second thought. Even her dog's house had heating. The day I was moving, I ran into Dylan and Audrey. They were with his parents, a happy family of 4 enjoying a meal at a fancy restaurant. I froze for a second. I remembered the first time I had gone to his house. I had arrived with armfuls of gifts, but his parents had served me a table full of leftovers. When I awkwardly suggested we all go out to eat, they accused me of being a gold digger, of mooching off their son and developing wasteful habits. In the end, I had to cook for the entire family. After I'd prepared a full meal, his mother had thrown down her chopsticks, complaining my food was too salty. She'd said only laborers ate such salty food, that it was what she'd expect from someone with my rural background. The gifts I had brought them ended up in the hands of the building's cleaning lady. Compared to this scene, I felt like a complete clown. Dylan's parents were enthusiastically piling food onto Audrey's plate. "Audrey and our Dylan are just perfect for each other," his mother gushed. "If you hadn't been tricked by that other man all those years ago, you two would never have missed your chance. I think the time is right now. You two should just get together." His father chimed in, "Exactly. Audrey has already landed several big clients for Dylan since joining the firm. She has a bright future ahead of her. Not like that useless Jenna who's only good for cooking and cleaning." I trembled with rage. I had been the one to land those clients. Dylan had just credited them to Audrey's name. The money I earned had practically kept the entire firm afloat. But Dylan had never once praised me. Instead, he constantly belittled me, saying I was only successful because of the platform his firm provided. And now, faced with his parents' slander, he said nothing to defend me. He just sighed and said, "Well, we've been together for so long, I guess I'll just make do." My heart plummeted. All these years, to him, I was just someone to make do with. His mother, however, was not satisfied with his answer. "Dylan, I'm telling you, that Jenna is bad luck. Just look at how her parents died so young. Marrying her will bring you nothing but trouble." Dylan didn't respond, but I was already overwhelmed by tears. My parents had died giving blood to save his. Years ago, his parents were in a car accident and were in critical condition. My parents, who had a matching blood type, didn't hesitate to donate. But they needed more blood than my parents could safely give. Dylan had been a sobbing mess. My parents, knowing how much I loved him, secretly donated more blood than their bodies could handle. In the end, his parents were saved, but mine passed away. The Anderson family had been consumed with guilt at first, promising to compensate me for my loss. But the compensation never came. Instead, I became the bad luck they whispered about. I couldn't bear to listen to their vile talk any longer. I turned to leave. But Audrey spotted me. Well, if it isn't Jenna. The three of them turned to look at me. The moment Dylan saw me, he instinctively pulled his hand away from Audrey's. Jenna, what are you doing here? Audrey feigned innocence. Dylan, Jenna is so dedicated to you. She seems to run into you everywhere. Do you think she put a tracker on you? Then, turning to me, she said, "Oh, Jenna, don't get the wrong idea. Dylan and I are just childhood friends. His parents are like my own. We get together like this all the time. If it bothers you, I can leave right now." Leave? Why would you leave? Dylan grabbed her arm and shot a venomous glare at me. Jenna, there's a mountain of work waiting for you at the office, and you're here stalking me? Have you lost your mind? What's the point of all this suspicion? Get back to the firm right now, and then go to HR to get your punishment. You're losing your pay for today, and this month's attendance bonus is gone. His parents chimed in. Dylan, why do you keep a parasite like her around? Just fire her. You're too soft. How do you expect an outstanding employee like Audrey to feel valued? Audrey, ever the benevolent one, added, "Oh, it's no trouble. I can just clean up Jenna's messes for her." But Jenna, you're not getting any younger. What will you do if you lose your job at the firm? You should just apologize to Dylan. Stop being so stubborn. His parents praised Audrey for her kindness and maturity. Dylan's disgust for me intensified. What are you waiting for? Get back to work. And I'm telling you, if I don't see you at the office by the end of the day, when the countdown ends tonight, don't even bother trying to make up with me. We'll be officially over. With that, he and his happy family paid the bill and left. Later that day, just before closing time, Dylan made a special trip to the office. When he saw that I hadn't returned, he was furious. He went straight to a bar and had a coworker casually let me know where he was. I ignored it all. 11 o'clock. The day was almost over. Dylan had downed a bellyful of alcohol, but it did nothing to quell the growing unease inside him. He kept glancing at the door of the private room, his heart jumping every time it opened. But it was never me. His phone was silent, as if it were broken. He even had his assistant check it for him. When he confirmed it was working, his mood plummeted. He was so used to me chasing him, so used to me caving. He wasn't equipped to handle this reversal. He stared at the photo of us on his lock screen. It was a candid shot he'd taken after our first kiss. A small smile touched his lips. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore. He sent me a text. Jenna, don't say I didn't warn you. The 3 days are almost up. The message went unanswered. Dylan's brow furrowed. The lively atmosphere in the room slowly died down under the weight of his dark mood. The air grew so cold that people started breathing more quietly. Just then, the door to the room swung open. Everyone looked up. The person who entered was out of breath, but his face was lit up with excitement. She's here, she's here. Boss, she's downstairs. And she's all dressed up. She looks amazing. You should go see. The tension in Dylan's face instantly melted away. He leaned back in his chair, a smug smile spreading across his lips. Go tell her she's too late. It's 12:01. If she wants to get back together, it's not going to be that easy. The coworkers who had bet on me apologizing all started laughing. Told you. That lapdog Jenna can't change her nature. All right, pay up. The guy who had just come in looked at Dylan, confused. What are you guys talking about? What about Jenna? What does this have to do with her? It's Audrey who's here. She came specifically to see you, boss. The jaws of the coworkers who had bet on me dropped. They started cursing under their breath. The messenger reminded Dylan, "Boss, I won't say more. You should really go down and see. It's a huge surprise." The room erupted in excitement again, the young professionals eager for some drama to spice up their boring work lives. But Dylan didn't move. It was clear to everyone that he was not happy. The boisterous crowd gradually quieted down again. Only the messenger was still clueless. "Boss, aren't you going down?" Dylan suddenly smiled. "Go down for what? Audrey is down there." "What's that got to do with me?" "But, she likes you, and you like her. Everyone knows that." "When did I ever say I liked her? If I remember correctly, I've said from the beginning that she's just my childhood friend." "But you two are so ambiguous." Dylan didn't answer. He just looked down at his phone again. Still no response. He exited the messaging app and dialed my number. All he heard was the cold, robotic female voice. I had blocked him. His face darkened. He borrowed a phone from a coworker and tried again. The phone rang a few times before someone picked up. "Hello, Mark? What's up?" My voice, soft and gentle as always, sounded in his ear. A tremor went through him, and his eyes started to burn. "Hello? Why aren't you talking?" "It's me, Jenna." "It's Dylan." The other end of the line went silent. Then, a soft click as the call was disconnected. He tried again, but no one answered. Dylan handed the phone back to his coworker. He didn't say anything, didn't show any emotion. He just opened another beer and drank it in one go. Then, he looked at the messenger by the door and said calmly, "Weren't we going down? Let's go." Audrey's confession was quite the production. She was exquisitely dressed, her face a picture of delicate beauty. As she poured out her heart, tears streamed down her face, creating a very moving scene. It caused quite a stir, with many passers-by stopping to watch and record videos, which they promptly posted online. Of course, I saw the videos. The one with the most views was of Dylan accepting Audrey's flowers. The part where she collapsed into his arms, crying, and he kissed the top of her head. I watched it with a blank expression and then closed the app. Even though my resolve to break up was unshakable, even though I was determined to carve him out of my heart, the heart is still made of flesh and blood. I had loved him with everything I had for 10 years. How could I not feel a pang of sadness? My best friend silently handed me a beer. "It's okay to drink a little more tonight. My brother will come pick us up later." We drank a lot of beer and sang a lot of sad songs at the top of our lungs. By the time her brother arrived, we could barely stand. I looked at the clean-cut, handsome young man with some embarrassment. A jumble of thoughts went through my head, the first being, I can't throw up. His white shirt is so clean. "You're Jenna? Can you walk?" He politely supported my arm. Half drunk, I looked at him. "Do you know me?" Then I remembered, of course, my friend must have told him. "We met in court once." "I'm Julian." I stared at him, dazed. The colorful lights of the karaoke bar were still flashing. A sad love song played in the background, intertwined with the laughter and applause of other patrons. Waiters rushed by with trays of drinks and snacks. It was the most mundane, bustling scene. But Julian stood there, his white shirt spotless, as if he were separate from it all. He was so clean, so pure, that it almost made one feel unworthy. When I got out of the shower, there was a new friend request on my phone. I stared at the name Julian for a long time before finally accepting. He sent a message almost immediately, "Get some rest. Good night." I typed back good night and, surprisingly, fell asleep quickly. The next morning, after I got up and went downstairs to take out the trash, I saw Dylan. He was standing under the tree in front of my building, just like he used to when we first started dating. The sunlight was so bright that for a fleeting moment, I was disoriented, thinking we were back in a time before the breakup. But it was only a moment. Reality came crashing back. Dylan had accepted Audrey's confession last night. They were together now. I threw out the trash and went to pick up a package from the local post office. When I returned, he was still there, standing under the tree, watching me as I walked closer. Dylan blocked my path. Let's talk. There's something I need to say to you. I ignored him and continued walking. But he reached out and grabbed my arm, quickly taking the package from my hands. This looks heavy. Let me carry it up for you. Before I could refuse, he had already run up the stairs with it. It was a hot day, and he was sweating from the exertion. I thanked him and was about to go upstairs myself. But he blocked my way again. Aren't you going to invite me in for a cold drink? I didn't want to get entangled with him. I turned away abruptly. Even if we're breaking up, we should at least talk it out, right? I stopped. His voice had a hint of mockery. Otherwise, things will be unclear, and people might get the wrong idea, don't you think? He had a point. If we were really breaking up, it was better to have a clean break. After all, I would be starting a new life at a new firm. I turned around and pointed to the cafe across the street. Let's go there. Fine. Dylan turned and walked ahead. I followed him across the street. The sun was scorching, and the streets were mostly empty. I didn't notice the young man in the white shirt on a bicycle at the corner of the street. The hot wind billowed his shirt like a sail. He was probably just passing by. I need to explain what happened with Audrey last night, Dylan began, without waiting for me to speak. I had no idea she was going to confess to me. It was a huge scene, with a lot of people watching. I honestly just see her as a friend. I didn't want to embarrass her and make a scene. That's why I didn't reject her then. He watched my expression as he spoke. I talked to her afterward and made it clear. I'm not with her. I smiled. I wanted to ask him, so, to avoid embarrassing her, you could accept her flowers, hug her, kiss her. So, in the future, would you also, to avoid embarrassing her, have more intimate contact with her, maybe even sleep with her? But I didn't even want to ask. This had happened too many times. I was so tired. What you're saying has nothing to do with me anymore. I only came here to make things clear with you. 3 days of silence, and we're broken up. That was your rule. Dylan, please, honor your own promise. We're broken up. What you do from now on, who you date, that's your freedom. You don't need to tell me about it. I took one last look at him. The days of scrimping and saving in our rental apartment. The joy of our firm's grand opening. He had said, we'll have a good life together. We'll have our own home in this city, get married, have kids, and never be apart. It all felt like yesterday, yet it also felt like a lifetime ago. My eyes welled up slightly, but my mind was clear. I had truly let go. Are you sure you want to be like this with me? The 3-day rule, yes, I said that. But the 3 days are over, and I'm the one coming to you to make up. What more do you want? I had said all I needed to say. I didn't want to argue anymore. I turned to leave. But Dylan grabbed my arm again, his brow furrowed, his eyes bright. The firm has a big case coming up. If we win, we can go public. You said you would personally handle it. Have you forgotten? I hadn't forgotten. Not long ago, I was still dreaming about it. After the firm went public, Dylan and I could finally get married and have a cozy little home. But Dylan's promises were too fragile. Jenna, please, stop fighting with me. I'm about to go abroad to visit family. Don't make me leave with this hanging over my head. Before I could say anything, his phone rang. He glanced at it, frowned, and hung up. But it rang again, and a third time. He finally answered. Audrey, what's wrong? Okay, don't worry, I'm on my way. I'll explain to my parents. Stop crying, it's not a big deal. I'll clear things up with them. I'm coming over now. I'll be there in 15 minutes, just wait. He hung up and turned to me apologetically. I'm not with Audrey, but my parents are furious. No matter what, this whole thing started because of me. I need to go explain to them. Jenna, wait for me to come back. We'll go get our license right away. He rushed off. I watched him disappear through the glass window of the cafe. My heart was as calm as a windless lake. Not a single ripple. Dylan went abroad. He tried calling me a few times from a different number before he left, but I didn't answer. Shortly after he left, Audrey followed him. His parents, who already adored her, were naturally thrilled to see them together. I quickly started my new job. On my second day, I ran into Julian. He said he didn't want a salary, he just wanted to be my assistant. But a law firm wasn't a playground. I refused. My coworkers teased me. Does that guy have a crush on you? He comes here every day. It's gotta be for you, right? He's so handsome. He looks so clean and well-behaved. I just smiled while organizing files. No, he's my best friend's brother. A coworker smirked. If you say so. I paused, and my eyes instinctively drifted to the corner where Julian was sitting. He was quietly reading a book at one of the reception tables. I pressed my lips together and looked away, reminding myself that some mistakes only need to be made once. My friend's family was well off, but she had told me that her aunt's family, Julian's family, was even wealthier. They had settled in the capital years ago. He was just here for the summer to visit his grandparents. Soon, he would return to a world that was far removed from mine. I started to intentionally avoid him. He was smart, and he quickly noticed my change in behavior. That day, I received a second message from him. Do you hate me? I stared at the words for a long, long time. A lump formed in my throat, and my chest felt tight. How could anyone hate someone like Julian? But some things are better left unsaid, some paths better left untrodden. No, you're very nice. But, I feel like your presence might be causing me some trouble. The typing indicator appeared and disappeared for a long time. Finally, he sent a single message. I'm so sorry. I won't bother you again. I buried my face in my pillow for a long time before I could finally type back 2 words, thank you. Time flew by, and I settled into my work at the new firm. Occasionally, during a break, I would find my eyes drifting to the corner where he used to sit. Many people came and went, but that quiet, steady presence was gone. Audrey posted on social media frequently, and Dylan often appeared in her photos. Sometimes, I would run into mutual friends. At first, they would tell me that Dylan had been asking about me. But I never responded, and eventually, they stopped. Just before the big case went to trial, Dylan returned from abroad. He came to see me immediately, laden with gifts and expensive-looking shopping bags. Jenna, I bought all of this for you while I was away. He presented the gifts to me, his usual joy tinged with a rare hint of caution. And by the way, don't listen to what people are saying. There's nothing going on between me and Audrey. It's just that my parents like her, so she stayed with us for a few days. Jenna, you're not angry anymore, are you? I was a bit dazed. In the year since we'd been apart, I had almost forgotten that Dylan could be like this, so careful and hesitant. He had pursued me so ardently at first, but as our love faded, he had become more and more arrogant. The power had always been in his hands. But if he was no longer in my heart, if I no longer loved him, what power did he have? I'll pick you up for the trial tomorrow, he said, as if it were a given. I just smiled and listened, waiting for him to finish. Jenna? You're smiling. You're not angry anymore, are you? That familiar, self-satisfied smirk returned to his handsome face. He stepped forward to hug me, but I stepped back, avoiding him. I'm sorry, but I've already resigned. You can have Audrey handle the case. Are you still mad at me? I never even saw that resignation form, so how can it be valid? He frowned, clearly displeased. I've already backed down twice. I cut him off calmly. No, I'm not angry anymore. I just don't love you. He was stunned. I don't think I had ever seen that expression on his face before. Shock, followed by a wave of panic and unease, and finally, a stark, pale disbelief. You're lying, aren't you? If this is about Audrey, I'll call her right now and clear things up. I'll tell her to never bother me again. He pulled out his phone, his hand trembling slightly, but I stopped him. Don't. It's not necessary. Dylan, everything about you is irrelevant to me now. I gave him a genuine smile. Let's not see each other again. His voice, carried on the evening breeze, sounded surprisingly desolate and shaky. I didn't stop, and I didn't look back. Dylan had truly become a stranger to me. Later, I would occasionally see Julian in court. He had passed the bar exam. His presence in the courtroom caused quite a stir. Many women were interested in him, and my colleagues often talked about him. I learned a lot about him from them. He was hardworking, had given up a life of privilege to move to our city. Everyone assumed he was just here for the experience. He was gentle and polite, but he had tactfully turned down many women. I never joined in on the conversations. I thought, some people are like that. They appear in your life, leave a lasting impression, and then they're gone. And that's all. When autumn arrived, so did my birthday. Dylan showed up at my door again. And to my surprise, Audrey was with him. When she saw me, she glared at me, her eyes red, before quickly looking down and starting to sob quietly. Dylan was a little thinner, looking a bit haggard. He was holding a large bouquet of my favorite flowers. Jenna, it's your birthday. I don't mean anything by this, I just wanted to celebrate with you. He offered me the flowers, his eyes full of hope. Go away. My friends are coming to celebrate with me. And don't come back again. You could come 100 times, and it wouldn't make a difference. Dylan, I'll say it one more time. I don't love you anymore. I don't believe you. Jenna, you told me you were a one-man woman, that you would love someone for a lifetime. The bouquet fell from his hands, but he grabbed my sleeve and wouldn't let go. Stop harassing me. Let go. I won't. You can't do this to me. You can't just sentence me to death over one little thing. It's not fair. I struggled, but I couldn't break free. His grip only tightened. Just as I was about to panic, someone came over and pushed Dylan away. She told you to let go. Didn't you hear? I rubbed my sore wrist and looked at the person in front of me. It was Julian. He glanced at me and then stepped in front of me, shielding me. Dylan's gaze landed on Julian's face. After a few seconds, he let out a sneer. I knew it. Jenna, you liar, you fraud. You were just waiting to get with him, that's why you were so determined to break up with me. You've been hooking up with him, haven't you? And you have the nerve to play the victim? You bitch. Before he could finish, a fist connected with his face. The soft light of the street lamp illuminated Julian's features. He looked at Dylan with a frosty glare. Say one more word, and I'll make you regret it. Dylan was not one to back down from a fight. He immediately retaliated. Julian looked slender and refined, but he was surprisingly strong. After a few rounds, Dylan was clearly losing. But Julian had also taken a few hits. I was so scared I froze. It wasn't until a few security guards rushed over that I finally snapped out of it. Julian was pulled away. Dylan wiped the blood from his face, his eyes full of hatred as he stared at Julian. I hit a nerve, didn't I? You do like her, don't you? Coveting another man's girlfriend, what does that make you? You put on this high and mighty act, but you're just a sleazy, two-faced hypocrite. You and Jenna, you two liars, you're a perfect match. Dylan. I slowly stepped forward and raised my hand. A crisp slap echoed in the night air. Tears streamed down my face. I have never regretted anything more than loving a scumbag like you. The incident that night was eventually hushed up and didn't escalate. After thinking about it for a long time, I sent Julian a message to thank him. He replied after a long while, then buy me a cup of coffee. I arranged to meet him at a coffee shop near my office. I saw the cuts on his face, which were just starting to scab over. There was a dark bruise near his eyebrow. A wave of sorrow washed over me. Someone like Julian had probably never had a scratch on him his entire life. He walked toward me in the autumn wind, his feet crunching on the fallen leaves. Your cuts, do they still hurt? It's just a small scratch. I glanced at the bruise on his face again and slowly lowered my eyes. Let's go. It's across the street. We sat down in the coffee shop. I watched him drink his coffee calmly. He's probably never had such bad coffee before, I thought. His parents would probably frown if they saw me, worried about their son getting involved with someone like me. Some lessons only need to be learned once. I sensed that he had something he wanted to say to me. I finally mustered the courage to look at him. I'm used to being alone. He looked at me intently for a long time before nodding. Okay. I thanked him again and walked out of the coffee shop without looking back. The wind was cold. I wrapped my coat tighter around me and buried my face in my scarf. When I looked down, I thought I saw a tear fall. But maybe it was just my imagination. Autumn passed. Dylan's big case was a spectacular failure, thanks to Audrey's foolish performance in court. On top of that, with me, their star lawyer, gone, the firm's IPO was a distant dream. In fact, they were facing bankruptcy. Dylan and Audrey had a huge fight, and he even ended up in the news for assaulting her. His parents, finally seeing Audrey for what she was, kicked her out of their house. My team and I, on the other hand, had a string of victories. At our celebration dinner one night, I got a call from my best friend. Jenna, my brother was in a car accident. My parents are on vacation abroad and can't get back right away. It'll take us until tomorrow to get there. Can you please go to the hospital and check on him for me? She was on the verge of tears. I stood there in the falling snow, feeling as if I had suddenly gone deaf. All I could hear was a loud ringing in my ears. By the time I got to the hospital and found Julian's room, it was completely dark. His head was wrapped in bandages, and his left arm was in a cast. And 4-drip was slowly feeding medication into his arm. He had his eyes closed, seemingly asleep. His face was pale from blood loss, almost blending in with the white sheets. I stood at the door, looking at his face, and tears started to well up in my eyes. In the middle of the night, Julian started running a high fever. He suddenly whispered my name. Jenna. My hands froze. He seemed to open his eyes blearily and look at me for a second before closing them again, drifting back into a delirious state. Jenna, he murmured my name again. Please, don't hate me so much, please. The tears I had been holding back for so long finally broke free. My heart was in a tangled mess. Sadness, and an overwhelming, uncontrollable ache, surged through me, swallowing all my reason and clarity. Julian, I've never hated you. I've never hated you. I couldn't hold back any longer. I leaned down. My wet, tear-stained lips, still salty from my tears, touched his dry, chapped ones. He suddenly went still. A tear trembled on my eyelashes and fell, merging with the one that had escaped from the corner of his eye. Julian slowly opened his eyes. Jenna. It's me. It's Jenna. I kissed him again, gently. I tried to smile through my tears. Does it still hurt? Are you uncomfortable anywhere? He didn't answer. He just stared at me, unblinking. After a long time, he finally spoke, his voice weak. It's snowing. Are you cold? Did you get cold on your way here? Outside the window, the snow fell silently. I shook my head, and as another tear fell, I gently pressed my face against his arm. In that moment, I let myself fall for him.